Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Natman and this is Never Too Old to Geek Out. This is episode 2 of N2o2Go, the podcast, the main show, the collection of whatever is happening in geek culture that we feel we need to talk about. Today we are going to be going over the recent Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play. Damos will join me at that point, and we're going to have a lengthy conversation about both and then get into all sorts of video game randomness. Before all that, though, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little comic book review of Batman Gargoyle of Gotham #1. Catch you in a moment. As many of you out there know, my biggest point in the geek culture sphere is comic books. It's been a while. I fell off. The lockdown hit me pretty hard in terms of going back and reading stuff that I've missed. But recently, I've got back into comic books, and it's been a fulfilling, rewarding, and joy-filled experience. I, in the past, have actually done some podcasting where we did comic reviews, and it just felt like the right time to come back and start that again. Just a little mini review for a book or two every now and then that strikes my fancy or really clicks with me for whatever reason. With that said, we're going to go ahead and talk about Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, written and illustrated by Rafael Grampa, with colors by Mateus Lopez. Um, that is if you got the normal version of the book. I apologize for the lighting condition. I'm going to try to hold this up as long as I can to get a nice, clear, crisp image. Yes, I could probably throw just a JPEG or something on the screen and it'd be fine, but I thought it'd be cool to actually see it. There's also a Noir edition, which is DC's line of inks only. So it's a black and white book. In this case, there's splashes of color. I believe it's only red. But they are black and white editions that highlight the inks. They also have a series called Unwrapped that is the pencils specifically. So major differences there. But anyway, I digress. We've got Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. I think we finally hit the era of Batman that is reflective on the Batman movie, actually. I see a lot of the noir elements, the color palette. There's a lot of either stark shadow, black and white, sepia tone, and red. It feels very much in the same line of a pseudo future take on Batman. It's really interesting tonally because there's science fiction aspects, but it's clearly not meant to be out of time. And if you're going to do a story like that, Batman is one of the best vehicles for that storytelling. Batman the Animated Series, very much the 1940s aesthetic, but it's actually a modern world, so to speak. Well, this has that same kind of vibe to it. It's there's a little bit of futuristic stuff happening, a little bit feeling like the 1990s or 1980s in here as well. Batman himself is very gadget heavy, speaks a lot about the different tools that the suit is capable of and how expensive and well put together the suit is. They talk several times, him and Bruce and Alfred, talk about the the cost of particular gadgets that they're both working on, and I thought that was a really like fun touch. I should talk about the art. Raphael Grandpa, I've been following for several years, probably 7 or so years now. I actually saw his work for the first time in a Batman Black and White issue, and I was kind of blown away. So this was something I've been anticipating for quite some time, and it does not disappoint. It delivers, and it delivers hard. It's very much a strong line art style. It's reminiscent of a more cartooned version of Frank Quitely. Um, if that means anything to any of you out there watching. If it doesn't, but you're interested in comics, though, please look up these names. There's some great art out there to absorb. But Raphael Grandpa, he's got such an energetic style. It's anything that harkens back to the animated series for me in Batman always feels like it lands a stronger punch, so it just hits harder. And this is definitely falling under that. I love the fact that this is kind of a noir horror thriller book because it leans heavily into the gadgets and sort of the futurism aspects of Batman. There is this level of fantasy that flows into it that works really, really well with the horror aesthetic. It's a hard book to not want to spoil elements of. There's a unique take on the Bruce Wayne Batman relationship that I think it's just another interesting way of looking at it. And again, I feel like it's a reflection of the Batman film. I don't know how concurrent time wise those things were in development, but I mean, I love the fact that there's kind of a hey, I like what some of the stuff that they did there. That's let's see what I can do in a story of my own. And maybe I'm just grasping at something that isn't there because of my love for the Batman. But yeah, to me it felt very evident, and I'm happy about it. I'm really happy about the design, the aesthetic, and the villain choice is quite eerie and a throwback again to like 1940s cartoons. I might get my time frame wrong here, but I'm thinking about like early Mickey Mouse, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. It's really odd. There's like kind of a black and white Cuphead feel. For anybody familiar with Cuphead, it definitely pulls from that aesthetic, and the villain in this book does as well. And it's interesting. I can't wait to read the noir edition. I'm a little bit apprehensive of that, just because I'm so the pen and ink part of comic book illustration is what I gravitate towards the most. Is what I ultimately hope to do to some degree in my life. Is to pen and ink a comic book or several. Um, so I have a strong attachment point to that, and I'm a little just not ready to dive into that just yet. Um, but I do like how the color balancing with the black and white elements actually in the main book they're intertwined in a way that's really unique. So I really recommend this to anybody. It's a mature rated book, so this is not Batman for kiddos here. I might show my child the cover art and the look of Batman, but probably not much else in the book is too safe for younger audiences. But I'm gonna give this a solid like I'm going 8.5 out of 10 arbitrarily. Um, might be dancing with a 9 in my head right now. I don't want to have some recency bias on there and let it marinate a little bit longer. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. I'm gonna try to put up an image of the bat suit just because I think it's a really inspired and unique bat suit design. Yeah, I think you should check it out if you haven't already. Go visit your local comic shops. That's the way to go. Have a conversation with the people working there. Trust me, they'll appreciate it. Again, that was Batman Gargoyle of Gotham by Raphael Grandpa from DC Comics, and that's book one. Well, everybody, welcome back. I am here with Damos, and we're going to discuss our thoughts, perspectives, reactions on both the Nintendo Direct and the Sony State of Play from last week. Damos, how are you doing?
You know, I'm here. Finally on a day off.
Yeah, yeah. I uh I don't know what that's like, but always know what that's like, but we'll digress. So let's start with Nintendo. Nintendo had a direct last Wednesday, I believe it was the 13th. And on the same day, Sony had a state of play. So it was like a 1-2 punch. What was your initial reactions to the overall Nintendo Direct?
Overall, interesting how much of it is remakes and reported sequels,
Yeah.
especially given the rumors of the Switch 2.
Yeah, the Super Switch seems definitely like something that is going to be revealed at some point soon.
Yeah, this direct very much felt like a swan song for the main console
Yeah, I'm kind of
kind of direct.
I'm curious what's going to be like the final game. The fact there was a lack of Metroid in this direct, I really don't know. Like I don't know. Well, we'll get into it when we go like game by game that we actually want to talk about. But I really enjoyed this direct, even though it was kind of like, hey, this is gonna be the last sort of hurrah as we enter a new console generation, I guess, for Nintendo.
Oh
It's
yeah, same.
so I saw a lot of like mid comments over the course of this week about like how people thought about this.
I mean, that's probably just due to, like I said, the fact of how much of it is just remakes
Right.
and reports.
Yeah. I think
I
that
can see why people would be calling it mid for that reason alone.
there's an interesting thing too about like some of the remakes or reports are for games that I'm old. So there are games that really they clicked with me because I have so much past
Mm-hmm.
experience with them. Let's just get right into it because I want to talk about Mario versus Donkey Kong. I think
Yeah,
there's
that one was an interesting out of nowhere one to me.
I had heard rumors that there was going to be a Mario versus Donkey Kong game going into this direct, and I was expecting another minis game, and I was like, oh, I like I get you fill out some of your empty time with like budget titles that can be
Yeah.
incredibly fun. I just never clicked with the minis games. So when it was actually a remake of Mario versus Donkey Kong, I was pretty ecstatic. Like that's one of my favorite GBA games, easy. If you've ever played Donkey Kong 94, it's this sort of modern retake on hey, what if Donkey Kong wasn't just like 5 stages, but an entire game? So,
Mm-hmm.
what was your overall feeling on Mario versus DK?
I have no strong attachment to the game,
Mhm.
unlike yourself, but I'm interested in it.
Had
Like, it
you
looks fun.
had you been familiar with Donkey Kong 94 on the Game Boy or the original Mario versus
Yeah.
Donkey Kong? Okay.
Yep. Just not the GBA version.
Oh, okay. So you knew about the Mario or excuse me. It's so weird to
The
call it Donkey
concept
Kong.
thing.
Yeah, Donkey Kong 94 is such a funny name for it because it's just called Donkey Kong,
Mm-hmm.
but there has to be some sort of a separator as to what it is. But it has those gameplay
Because there's been
mechanics.
like 20 Donkey Kongs.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm in the minority on this one. I don't think I need another Donkey Kong Country yet. I've gone back and replayed
Nah.
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and I think this falls into the people say it's good because it's hard category, not because it's actually a fantastic game.
Mm.
So I think it has great level design, but I don't think it controls well. But that's I digress. Back to Mario versus Donkey Kong. I'm excited for this. The gameplay in this game is just so fun and thought provoking, and the minis do like make their debut in Mario versus Donkey Kong. So they are most levels are split into like 2 stages where you do like a key to enter a room, and then in that room there is minis, and they will follow
Okay.
you. They'll follow you around, and you have to lead them out with the puzzles. So you're saving them literally,
Yep.
but it's not the Lemons game. Did you have anything you wanted to highlight from the direct before we go into the big surprise at the end? Because I don't want to get there too fast.
um, I mean, obviously, there's the actual first look at the Peach game.
Yeah, let's talk about that because on the my reaction video, I put uh dual release for the Super Nintendo Switch because I think we need to be leery of anything that is in that March date or later. I think you're looking at dual
Yeah,
releases at that point.
that one. It's either that or Metroid that is gonna be the like Breath of the Wild esque game for
Yeah,
the Switch. where it releases on Switch and Switch 2,
Right.
just like Breath of the Wild was Wii Switch.
I'm starting to lean
And
towards.
given we've heard no news on Metroid for literally 2 years now,
Yeah,
this seems more likely.
I think Metroid 4 or Metroid Prime 4 is going to be just a solo Switch 2 game. I think they've I think it's been
Yeah, I
scrapped for
wonder if
the current
that's
console.
actually why the production of that game got scrapped and redone almost.
Yeah. Which is kind of I mean this is speculative, but if that's really the case, it's kind of sad because of how good the Metroid Prime remaster was. The
Mm-hmm.
it's it's so I mean it might be one of the best graphical showcases of the console, but
I'm just waiting for the shadow drop of either of the Prime sequels
give me
now.
both. I've never played Echoes, and I want to replay Corruption because up until replaying Prime, that was my favorite of the three. That was the game I gravitated
Same.
towards. So something about the
And
game.
that's because it was on the most recent console of the three of them.
Yeah,
It
I
just
think
holds up better because of that.
I am very inept at first person shooters, so having the motion controls with the Wii really it made the
Yep.
game a lot more understandable for me to play. So
Yep.
but back to
Same.
Princess Peach Showtime. What are your overall feelings on
Yes.
what you saw?
I absolutely adore all of the costume designs that they've given her. I'm real curious to see what all the rest of her designs in the game are going to end up looking like.
Yeah, I had a if you checked out my reaction video, I wanted more pink in most of her designs. That was like something that just
That's
initially
fair.
clicked to me. But rewatching it, I really hope that these are not limited to single stages. That at some point you get to
Yeah.
go back to them, or even a few of them that are like constantly with you that you can change on the fly or something too.
Mm-hmm. Basically, something to give stages replayability by using a different costume in them.
Right, like you can go back and take a look at a different stage. Because I've rewatched the trailer a couple times. Excuse me, and she definitely has some sort of magical powers from the ribbon during the non
Mm-hmm.
transformation sequences. I'm really
Okay.
confused. I'm confused about what the game is at this point.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten a good hold of that.
It almost I almost got a Mario 64 vibe where you're like traversing a single castle, or in this case it's a theater, and maybe there's different
Mm-hmm.
you go into different rooms or different plays, so to speak. So you have
Yep.
an exploratory world, and then you go into those, and then you get different abilities within those individual stages. Um, Hopefully it's long. I hate to see games like this that have really creative ideas, and then they're like 7 hours long.
4 hours.
Oh gosh, yeah. Let's not talk 4 hours. That to me is a
That's the
forty
length of
dollar.
a typical Resident Evil game.
Is it really? I have very little experience.
If you actually, after your first playthrough, a typical run of new game Resident Evil ends up being like 4 hours as the speed run for a casual.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I say this, but Metroid is one of my favorite franchises of all time. Probably my favorite Nintendo franchise, and the whole goal for a lot of people in Metroid is to finish it as fast as possible. So
Yep.
there's the question of replayability and how that factors in is a huge deal. But I was really impressed by the overall aesthetic of the game too. Like
Mm-hmm.
there seems to be a toy box feel to a lot of what Nintendo's doing first party, where like a lot of the stuff feels really tangible and
Yeah.
touchable. So see it with
Yeah.
Mario. Mario Wonder looks that way. I think Peach looks that way. Um, oh gosh, I lost my train. Oh, Mario versus DK has that same feel. Like it has that sort of. It's not like it's overly shiny or plasticky looking. It's just that it feels like toyetic. Like you can go in and grab the pieces. And well, yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the designs. The two that really stuck out to me were Kung Fu Peach and Sword
Yep.
Fighter Peach. Sword Fighter looks pretty damn awesome. I kind of wish they would have called
Yep.
it.
Sword Fighter was my standout.
I wish they would have called it Swashbuckler, but maybe that's too much for kids to
That's for Nightwing later on this month.
say. Uh, nice. Yeah, what was it about the sword
What
fighter design that you really clicked with?
I don't know what it was. It's just the one that got the most interest out of me. I'm pulling it up right now on my phone again.
Okay.
Maybe if my phone will.
I like the balancing of the outfit in terms of its colors with the long
Hmm.
I can't the oh man, like the knickerbockers, the knee high pants
Yeah.
that it was a very cool feel. Like it looked like she had just jumped off of a ship, and was ready to do
Hmm.
do some damage.
It also does do the thing that you were talking about with needing more pink to it,
Hmm.
because the entire inner lining of the jacket
Is it pink?
is pink. I have
Okay.
a pause on my screen on my phone right now. Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
like inside of the cape slash coat is a pink color.
Nice. 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 Yeah, the one that I kind of was questioning was Patissier Peach, just because the gameplay
Hmm.
felt so far removed from everything else. Like it felt like a Mario Party minigame was kind of how I saw that.
Hmm.
And that
Although watching gameplay of her in the sword fighter outfit, the inside of the cape does, or coat doesn't look as pink.
okay,
At points, it looks more red, so it might be a lighting thing.
that's fair. Maybe that's the same case with the Kung Fu one. That there's probably like a pink
Hmm.
highlight that just didn't read. But I'm really excited for this. I don't
Meanwhile,
think.
Detective Peach with its like zero any color to it.
Yeah, it's pretty classic, like Sherlock Holmes detective look.
Yeah,
Put on that.
which I don't hate, but like
I think the
it's
big
classically generic for a reason.
right. I think the big question on this game is it going to be a robust gameplay or a robust game with strong gameplay? Because it looks to be a locked camera, so I'm curious if we're going to have some sort of right thumbstick menus. I always go back to Mega Man 11. I think did a really great job of
Mm-hmm.
all of the transformations or just a thumb flick away, where you could just pull up your different powers.
I could see that being the case.
That'd be awesome. I'd be really excited about that. I don't mind locked perspectives with very little camera movement if the game warrants it. And a lot of this game looked very like 2D side scroller. So
The fact that it's a stage play also warrants itself to having a fixed camera.
yeah. All right. Well, we have just spent a lot of time with that one. I want to go over to a third party game because I just I couldn't get over the name, and I've heard people say negative things about it. I'm like, what's wrong with you? It's Unicorn Overlord. That was the
It's Atlas Studios. What did they expect?
right. It's Atlas. It's vanillaware, so it looks gorgeous. I'm really hoping that there's something of a hook in the overworld gameplay. I, I've been
Mm-hmm.
I've been chomping at the bit to find a strategy RPG that I'm really interested in, and the art style alone pulls me in because it is the vanillaware
Mm-hmm.
art. So, did you have any opinions overall on
Yeah,
that?
I'm definitely interested in that one just because it's an Atlas game and it's that style of tactics.
Yeah, I was really interested in triangle strategy, but
Mm-hmm.
there's so much reading. It is so much reading. So I'm kind of hoping we get something with a
Yeah,
little more
that was
action.
definitely the main complaint that I heard about Triangle.
I want more action in my strategy games. Maybe that's genre just
More
stuck with
action, less reading.
me. Yeah. What was less songs, more explosions? The Atlantis idea for Disney. Yeah, that was really all I had to say about that one.
Yeah, other games from the direct that were interesting, not counting the surprise one at the end. F-Zero
Have you
getting
played it?
a. I have not yet.
I am addicted every day. Every morning, first thing I do is play it, and then every night before bed, I pop on and try to do a couple races.
Fair. It's definitely one that I'm curious what it means for the F-Zero franchise as a whole.
I can tell you right now,
Is
if
this
it's
kind
not,
of their, this is what's left of it?
if they do another game and they don't do this battle royale format, I think it's a missed opportunity. I think this is so
Mm-hmm.
natural, have a fit for F Zero. I don't know if I was super animated when I saw this for the first time, but it just clicked to me as being such a great idea because I haven't played too much of F Zero GX. I've heard hard is the word that comes to mind that people always talk about when they talk about GX. So I was down for a GX remake because I haven't really spent a lot of time with the game, but I this
Mm-hmm.
exceeded my expectations in terms of honoring what F Zero was. They took mechanics from some of the later games and put them into this, and it controls beautifully. I think there's only four different uh, race cars that you can use or hovercraft, and
Mm-hmm.
they they feel different. Like it is a struggle to kind of jump back and forth. I'm trying to do that because I'm trying to feel which one works best for me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
addicted to going into the upgrade menu and seeing what I need to do for the different customization options. Some of them are hard.
Fair.
One of the main color options, I think it's actually um, a decal that you can add, requires you to do 10 races without crashing out consecutively.
Oh.
And it's not enough that like F Zero's hard. It's fast. It's
Mm-hmm.
chaotic, especially when there's 98 other people on the screen. But there's also rank out. So you may not even
Mm-hmm.
finish a race if you're not fast enough to keep up with the pack. So yeah, this was a surprise announcement for me that I knew F Zero that the had been sort of milling about and that there was big time rumors there was going to be some sort of F Zero presence.
Mm-hmm.
This was not what
Yeah,
I was
I
expecting.
was like 2 months ago seeing people discussing the likelihood of F Zero 99 being their next 99 game,
Mhm. I didn't actually see
but
that.
had
So
forgotten about it until the direct.
yeah, awesome surprise. I'd check it out. I mean, it's free. It's one of those
Yeah.
games, and it's a good flow.
Another one that I'm interested in. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, it's a good flow state game. Like if you like getting into the clear your mind sort of thing. Like you
Uh
have to
huh.
be in it so you get into the flow, and it's short, so you can take like a small burst of it. Oops, sorry.
Racer 2, stop. Racer 2, stop.
Yeah, and the races are fast. Or you could go in and spend your tickets and do like team battle, which I don't know if they covered at all in
Mm-hmm.
the direct, but team battle is it just arbitrarily divides the team into either pink or green, and your goal is to score the most points by doing the best that you can, but you also get points for spin attacking the opponents of the other team or knocking them into guardrails.
Okay,
So
that sounds fun.
it's awesome, and it's just yeah, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and play this mode now.
I had one other thing from the direct that I was interested in, but we didn't get too much of it,
Okay.
and that was the new Prince of Persia
Yes.
game.
What Prince of Persia? What's the Crown? Lost Crown.
Lost Crown.
This has
Yeah,
been
it looks like
pretty.
you're playing as one of his bodyguards to rescue him or something,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's
This is
about the extent of what we know.
it is a it is a Metroidvania inspired heavily by Metroid Dread. Actually, there's a lot of the movement
Yep.
options, the way that boss fights are structured, and how you utilize power ups. Um, the completionist has a really really great preview up because he got to play an earlier build of the game. I believe he talked about the optimization for Switch that it's really being targeted as a Switch game as well as being on other platforms. So
Makes sense. It looks more like a Switch game than an like Sony or Xbox game,
yeah,
and I
I'm
don't mean that in a bad way.
no there's that choice of style over realism, and
Yep.
I think that when games developed for the Switch make that choice, they have a much more interesting graphical style, and the barrier of entry is smaller at that point. So
Yep. I also love that their announcement during this direct for the like pre-order bonus was specifically a Warrior Within costume because they know
yeah,
which game of the Sands of Time series was the most popular.
yeah, that's
It was
which
the
is
edgy one.
which is awesome because then it confirms costumes, so it confirms another level of customization.
Yep.
because they talk about amulets in the preview, which are, I mean, let's go back to your shirt that you've got on, the badge systems, or what is it called in Hollow Knight? Having a little bit of a brain
Yeah,
fart.
they're badges.
They're badges. Okay.
Are they badges? Now you've got me questioning myself.
Charms. They're charms.
Charms. Yes,
Yes,
that's what
they're
it is.
charms. They're badges in the game
It's
we're
the
going to
charm
talk about.
systems because charm notches.
Yes, yes. We're going to talk about badges when it comes to the big surprise game. But yeah, I
Which
like.
was not this because this was still shockingly absent.
Yeah, we're going to talk at some point in the near future about 2023 as it pertains to being the greatest year ever for video games, and Silk
I
Song is
have
going to have
so
to be
many
part
notes
of
for that.
that. Yeah, there's going to be a lot in that one. I think the amulet system though is just one of those subtle customization where you can do your playthrough.
Mhm.
I honestly think that the next 2D Metroid game needs to take something from that, but that's a different conversation.
I'd be interested in seeing a Metroid game do that.
Anything else to say about the Prince of Persia?
No, just pointing out that it was my last like major. I'm interested in this from the direct.
Yeah,
Most of the rest of it was a lot of cool, sure,
yeah, yeah. I
not
hit a
my
lot.
thing.
Super Mario RPG remake looks really really great. I've never finished it, so this is a good opportunity for me to get.
RPG remake, which I guess is actually perfect for leading us into the final thing because my statement about that is that RPG remake being announced basically made me think that our final announcement of this direct wouldn't happen this
Yeah.
year.
So yeah, let's just jump right into the Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door.
That was a year door.
Have you played the original?
Yes,
How does it sit for
loved
you?
it.
Loved it. For me, it is in my top 20. I believe it's in my top 15 favorite video games of all time. Like it is,
Okay,
it's up there.
it is that up there for you.
So I was stunned. I had no expectations that there would be a remake, and I figured if we got a remake, it would be in the style of Origami King or Color Splash.
Sounds right.
But it's not. It's its own thing. It's a higher resolution.
Mhm.
It is a they're creating separation through the characters by making them look as if they're made more of cardboard than of paper. Like I always think of the card
Mhm.
stocks that come on action figures, especially with my kid being the age he's at right now.
Yep.
So it had that feel to it. But what is your excitement level then for a remake of this?
Pretty high. Pretty high. I'd put it probably at least an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah, I'm probably in that same boat. Right around an 8 sounds good because it's like I don't want to
Where I
ignore.
want to be more excited, but I don't want to get my hopes too high.
Well, I don't think this is going to be a Switch exclusive. I think this is going to be Switch 2.
No. Yeah, this feels like another one that's gonna be cross console.
Yeah, there's going down the tinfoil hat stuff. There's some color guides on the screen for button prompts that are not
Mhm.
really related to anything on the Switch because the Switch has black or charcoal gray buttons,
Yeah.
but the color guide is based
Mhm.
on the uh, Super Famicom and the European Super Nintendo color scheme. So
Mhm.
I that Super Switch name, if they lean that way and they do the
Might
colors,
be an actual option. Yeah.
yeah, you do that. You go back. I mean, GameCube people rant about now as being one of Nintendo's most prolific consoles. And honestly, if you think about the GameCube games, if we get Wind Waker on Switch at some point in time, then we're gonna have basically what I would consider like the big three of the GameCube era, which was Metroid Prime, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door,
Mhm.
and Wind Waker. Those are like
Yep.
the to me that is exemplifies what the GameCube perfected. But Smash Melee, I
Yeah.
suppose. I'm not a Smash Melee guy, but
I we have Ultimate, which basically is just
yeah,
what you get. You're never gonna get a remake of the old Smash Bros. Games. Let's
yeah.
be honest.
And for me, why
not
would you?
outside of the new entry.
Yeah.
What I would say the other games I would maybe put on that list for the like GameCube era games, Sunshine also has been ported.
Yep. And I'm like, Sunshine is
Um,
the bottom
the
of my
only one
Mario
that really,
list.
which is fair, but
Yeah.
it is kind of the Mario game of that console besides
Yeah. The,
Paper Mario.
the game that launched with
And
Luigi.
then technically, Pokemon XD Yellow Darkness
I'd be interested in seeing
because that was
more.
their console Pokemon seller. Was
Right.
that?
Okay. Well, I wanted to move on if you're okay with what we've got about Paper Mario.
Yep.
Some of the things that I just could not understand was spending that much time on Among Us with that long trailer,
Yeah, that trailer was ridiculously long for just a new map,
and then
a single new map.
I don't understand that. And boy, Detective Pikachu looks like something from the 3DS. Like that does not look like a game on
I
Switch.
think it was supposed to be a 3DS game that got delayed too long, and then the 3DS was no longer a console.
That is a disappointing visual for a video game for a
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo first party like that. That's not to me. That doesn't look
Yeah.
like the par. That does not look like,
No.
especially if we're talking about the end of a console's life cycle.
Unfortunately, that's just how Pokemon has been going lately too.
Yeah, that's a
It's
different
just
discussion
not being up to par.
because
So like, could go a whole video talking about that
yeah,
alone.
we should actually let's plan on that actually. I actually,
But like, that was the only reason I wasn't overly surprised by Detective Pikachu looking as it did.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. That's disappointing. I think the overall biggest disappointment that I have for both of these shows as we get into state of play is what the hell is with the weak intros? I'm not against Splatoon by any
Mm-hmm.
stretch of the imagination, but boy, talk about 7 o'clock in the morning. I was very much ready to be sleeping, and they didn't wake up with a bang. Like that didn't come out of the gate with something to
Yeah,
wake you up.
Splatoon is definitely their. I know why they lead with it. Splatoon is super popular in Japan,
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It's just that the choice
like extremely.
the
So
choice
them
of
leading with that is on purpose for that, but it doesn't work for foreign audiences
yeah. It also for
where
me the
the
big
West is
problem.
just not.
Oh crap, we're already running out of time.
Oh,
That's okay. It's okay. We can always come back and just do Sony as a separate thing.
I was
Uh,
gonna say we might have to do a split recording.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I I just don't think the pace of the trailer worked. It was definitely one of those. There's a lot of cool content in there, and especially like you said, the Japanese audience being what it is for Splatoon. It was just it was so slow
I
paced.
wish Splatoon was a different game. Like I love the visuals of that game,
Yeah,
but the style of it is just not for me,
that's fair.
like gameplay wise.
Yeah, I'm not a
And like every
FPS.
time I see it, I'm like, I want to love this.
I don't know. That's again like neither here nor there. Cool looking, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we're gonna go ahead and take a break here, and then we will come back with the our impressions of state of play, as well as maybe a little bit of TGS speculation, as I think that pertains to some of what was maybe missing from both of these shows. So be back in a
Mm-hmm.
moment.
So PlayStation State of the Play.
Yeah, PlayStation State of Play. Um, what were your overall impressions?
So I'll start with comparing it to the Direct that we just talked about.
Hmm.
It's interesting the different way the two companies go about their videos for these,
Okay.
because Nintendo has an overall announcer to all of its stuff, and I do mean all.
Yep.
Whereas the Sony presentation had one announcer that showed up like what, twice, three times.
I felt bad for her. I really did. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
she
She felt
she
shoehorned in, and it's not her fault.
she felt shoehorned in, and some of the stuff that the dialogue that was written for her to say, I was like, so my
Mm-hmm.
overall impressions of this was a snooze fest. Like this was For
There
me,
was exactly two things that I was interested in, and they were both at the very end.
exactly. Let's just get right into it. What is baby steps?
That was the worst opening ever.
I was like, if I
Baby
want to,
steps is what I refer to as the category of game known as streamer rage bait.
gotcha.
They are meant for speedrunning gamers to basically rage at the game they are playing
I see.
to get
I
views.
I
It's the same
literally,
thing as Always Up that came out a few months ago, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy that came out like 2 years ago. One of those kind of games, essentially.
yeah, I watched this and literally was like, if I want this experience, I'm going to drink too many glasses of wine and go for a hike because it looked like this thing.
Yep.
I play video games for escapism, and this looked exactly like not escaping. This looked like I would look like work. It didn't look like a game. It looked
Mm-hmm.
like this is work. You have to figure out how to walk again. I was like,
Yeah, that game was definitely like might actually be the weakest thing at any of these presentations that we've had recently.
yeah, I would say so. I know there must be an
And that's
optimal for it.
saying something.
Yeah. And then the announcer came in after that and was like looking for innovative ideas like what you just saw, and I'm like, really?
And then she just says Roblox on PS4 never touches on it again.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a what
That
a
was
lot.
my big takeaway of her announcement. She literally says Roblox is now going to be available on PlayStation 4 and does not touch on it after that at all. It is not brought up again a single time during that entire presentation. It doesn't even get its own video. It is a 5 second segment that she just mentions in dialogue.
I mean, would it have been helpful to see Roblox?
No, no, it wouldn't, which is part of the issue of it just didn't need to be brought up at all if it wasn't going to be relevant to the presentation.
Yeah. I don't know. This was just one of those that I don't uh I don't know how to. I don't like to talk super negative about things, and I'm not super negative about this because of, like you said, the end portion of the video, but it was like
Mm-hmm.
leading up to this. I'm glad I didn't watch it live. I suppose that was kind of
Yeah,
my thoughts, because there was a
yeah, that
long
was about my
segment.
takeaway as well.
What was the shooting game, like the squad shooter that was in there?
Helldivers, I think,
Helldivers 2, that's what it was. Yes.
which looks interesting, but at the same time, meh.
It looks like most of the other games in that genre. Like,
Yep.
I don't know. That's also not for me. It felt very much like if you didn't have VR or you weren't this particular type of gamer, this was not for you. Like, this was a show not for
It
you.
also felt weird that that was the only game that had developer commentary to it
Yep.
in
Yeah.
either of the directs.
Nintendo's not known for that other than the indie directs though, because you bang out
No,
the indie,
unless it's a treehouse specifically.
right? Which I
Nintendo doesn't really do developer commentary, but again, the fact that it's the only one in either of them made it weird
yeah.
and stand out for that reason.
Well, yeah. So I'm gonna go into my big highlight then, and that is Spider-Man 2. I
Sorry, it was Spider Man.
heck yeah, one of the top tier costumes in the history of the character. Um, I
Yeah.
watching that presentation, just the little trailer about the level, or excuse me, the map design and the upgrade system, and then seeing that end tag that showed the special suits for the digital deluxe edition.
Mhm.
My immediate thoughts were, I need to start a Patreon because I don't have the money to buy the digital deluxe edition, and I need the digital deluxe edition. The
Fair.
the, the thought of being able to that each of the suits has color variants.
Mhm.
So on top of the fact that you're customizing your loadouts for what gadgets you have, whether or not you're going to use the Venom powers or the symbiote's powers in the case of Peter,
Mhm.
and or the spider arms. I forgot what they're calling them. The spider limbs.
Yeah, the totally not Iron Spider weapon.
Right. I mean, guarantees us the superior Spider-Man costume, and if that's not in there, I'm very confused.
Yeah,
But
I'll be confused if that doesn't show up.
I would love, and again, I think I'm going to throw out a lot of speculation stuff when it comes to Spider-Man, just because I'm pretty hyped on it. I really wish it wasn't coming out
Hyped
October
on it,
20th.
and we're comic book readers, so like we have stuff that we can speculate off of.
Yeah. The if the superior Spider-Man suit is in it, which I truly believe it should
Mhm.
be, I'm really pushing, like, fingers crossed, really hard for a variant that is the traditional blue and red look. So it's this
Okay.
same cutout, same, the V shape of the webs, maybe even make
Hmm.
the eyes silver, but like the bug eyed look, but it's red and then the cerulean blue for all of the black areas. Because I'm just not a fan of like
Hmm.
black Spider-Man suits that aren't the symbiote on Peter. That's Miles' look as far as I'm concerned. So
I agree with you there. The only other character I would say in the Spider-Man mythos that deserves black on their suit is Kane.
yeah, yeah. Which
Like
I think
it's
there's a
Kane, black
Kane.
is Kane and Miles' color.
It is was there a Kane suit in that trailer? I'm kind of blurring together because they've released a lot of Spider-Man 2 stuff since that.
It might have been in the N2o2Go
Okay.
trailer because that was one of the things I did want to mention was the weird pacing of that in the Sony Direct. I'm just
It,
going to keep calling it a Direct. It's what it is.
I think that was a like we know that the audience that we have is down for Spider-Man 2, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't Final Fantasy is our end announcement. Like that's our big tag.
Yep.
So where do we put this cool exclusive information? It's like I guess we do it kind of like a credits feature, but
We just push it back here after everything is announced. It
yeah,
was just a weird, basically Spider-Man and Final Fantasy Spider-Man is how it went.
yeah. Which it worked for me because yeah. But
Oh
what
yeah,
what
I
else?
didn't hate it. It was just very much a weird pacing thing. Like
Yeah, like why
I
wasn't it
get
just
why they did it, but at the same time, why wouldn't you just put it with your Spider-Man announcement anyways?
yeah? I guess it's probably
It
because
didn't feel super necessary to split them.
it was the go to your PlayStation Network now and do the pre-order thing. So it's like
Yeah,
that's the end of the video. Go log on and take
we
care of
can't
it.
tell you to leave before the video ends. Yeah,
Yeah. So, did you have
yeah.
anything else to
Final
say?
Fantasy on Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Just that I am the most excited ever.
I'm really pissed that this is coming out on October 20th.
Right? Unfortunately, my big disappointment with the game is the amount of information that has been put out about it, not through these videos,
Yeah,
and has been other announcements separately because it's just been like announcement about
there's like
that
a
game.
2-hour demo that a whole bunch of pundits have been
Yeah,
playing. So
yeah. Like apparently they announced the fact that Peter and Miles can just randomly encounter each other in the city
yeah,
when you're doing crimes. That wasn't something they touched on at all in this
no,
direct.
that's the thing is like
Despite this direct focusing a lot on like the side content rather than the story content.
right. Well, and then like they mention the new the gear system in it, and like all of that information
Mm-hmm.
about the gear system is not in the direct itself. So
Yep. Yeah, it's very much weird how much of the content is being like trickled out through like 20 different sources
yeah,
for that game.
it's an odd one. I definitely. I mean, I'm more excited than anything, but the idea of it
And then I
releasing.
had one disappointment in the trailer that we saw,
What was that?
and that was the design of Mysterio.
Unconfirmed
Looking like a
Mysterio.
Microsoft presenter. Yeah. Looking like a Microsoft presenter.
Hey, modern take on the character. I don't know. I haven't. Insomniac has done no wrong so
I'm looking
far.
forward to him like full costume rather than
Right.
what is clearly just
It's Quentin Beck.
secret identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems pretty obvious. A lot of people are speculating that's him. My biggest disappointment with Spider-Man 2 is the fact that it releases the same day as Super Mario Brothers Wonder. Like that's pretty much
Yep.
my huge problem there. I don't know. One, I don't have the time.
October is a month for games.
October is a thing. I'm gonna be.
I still got to beat Miles Morales, so like
Yeah, I'm trying to blitz through that, but when I have a 3-year-old child, it's not exactly the easiest thing in the world to do.
that makes it hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm over here working full time, so like
We all
blissing
have
through
our.
a game not very easy either on
No,
that
I wish. I mean, yeah, man, if they had separated them by 2 weeks, like give me
end.
a November 1st release or something for Spider-Man.
Yep.
I don't know. It'll be an interesting one. But obviously, the big announcement was Final Fantasy VII.
Rebirth, I think, is the name of this one.
Is it Rebirth? Because what was the previous one? It was remake, right?
First one was remake. This one is Rebirth, and then there's a third one that they have announced is going to be a thing, but we don't know the title of it yet.
Okay, I'm gonna do a quick check on my phone.
They have, outside of this direct, announced that the stuff they showed in the trailer, basically where this is going to end point.
Hmm.
Uh, for non-spoiler reasons, I'm not going, or for spoiler reasons, I'm not going to say it for anybody that's watching this that hasn't played Final Fantasy VII before or doesn't know the big moments of the game. Without saying it, they basically said that it's going to be the Sephiroth moment.
Okay, and I've never played the original Final Fantasy VII.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have basically no history with the franchise. I
Interesting.
the 16-bit RPG era completely missed me. I'm excited for everybody else, and I think it looks really pretty. I don't know that I'm ever gonna play
Mm-hmm.
this.
I don't have an attachment to Final Fantasy VII specifically.
Mhm.
Uh, I've played through remake,
Okay.
and I know the history of the game, like its original versions,
Yeah.
and all the content that happens in it, but I don't actually know or have the connection that a lot of people do to Seven being their top Final Fantasy game.
Right. Yeah, it's weird. It looks amazing. I mean, it's such a both
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man and Final Fantasy VII have that, like, these are next gen games. They look like next gen games.
They are showing the power of the PS5.
Yeah, it's about time that
There was
somebody.
one small thing in that Final Fantasy trailer that I found the online discourse for hilarious because I've
What
been
was that?
part of it, and that is the reveal of one of the characters, Vincent, I think is his name, the vampire character
Okay.
who gets like one voice line in the trailer. It's Matthew Mercer.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
Unconfirmed, but it's Matthew Mercer. We're having a repeat of the Tears of the Kingdom trailer from earlier in its release when Ganondorf's voice was first revealed,
Yeah,
and everybody was like, "I know that voice, Mercer. You can't lie to me. I know that's you."
that's that's funny. Trying to hide that stuff.
And I actually, somebody posted an old tweet from Matt Mercer where he specifically said that Vincent is his like second character of the Final Fantasy VII cast that is like his top one he wants to voice.
Oh, okay. So
He basically said, "I missed the train on voicing Sephiroth,
gotcha. See,
but I'd love to voice Vincent or other character."
my familiarity with the character of Sephiroth is playing him in Smash Bros. So
Fair.
or
My
getting.
familiarity with Sephiroth is his theme song being the absolute best theme song a villain has
It's fair. It's fair.
ever had.
It's got a great name. It's also the name of finishing move of a pro wrestler. So taken
Yeah.
from Final Fantasy, to be fair. Like it's
Yep.
so that's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, it looks like they're making some interesting story changes, which the first game was already this remake trilogy was setting up. Because it looks like Zack Fair, the character that's like got Cloud hunched over his shoulder and stuff,
Yeah.
is still alive at some point during this timeline
Now that's the
where he
lead.
shouldn't be.
That's the lead character of the Crisis Core game, right?
Crisis Core.
Okay.
Yep. He basically dies at the end of Crisis Core, from what I understand.
Interesting.
Like he's supposed to be dead by the time the events of Final Fantasy VII even happen, because he's the original owner of the Buster Sword.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a big story point that's changed then.
Yeah, so if he's still alive during the story of this, and the fact that it looks like at some point we're getting a Cloud Sephiroth team up, there are some interesting changes in backstory things we might be getting.
or playing through backstory, like playing through
That is
elements
what I'm
that.
thinking might be the case of that like flashback of Sephiroth and Cloud fighting. I think that is a flashback to them fighting together for whatever backstory there is.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But
I
like the
apologize.
game looks fabulous.
Yeah, yeah. From a visual standpoint, I just rewatched it a little bit of the trailers again, and I'm just like, man, that's a pretty game.
Mm-hmm.
I say that a lot though. I'm either I find that I don't think there's too much that's middle of the road. I either dislike the graphics
Right?
completely,
It's
or I'm
either
like, this is amazing.
amazing looking or meh, not my thing.
Yeah, that's actually one of my gripes about. I guess Spider-Man for me is a mid one. I love all of the villains. I love the costumes for the heroes in Spider-Man, but I just think the
Mm-hmm.
normal people look really generic. So,
Yeah, it's New York. Of course they look generic.
hey, I'm from New York.
I know, and I'm from Boston, so I'm allowed to do
I don't look like an NPC.
this.
Glitch a little bit here. I don't have a lot to say about Final
But
Fantasy other than it looks really cool.
mhm. Yeah, that's about all I have for it as well as a lot of like minor speculation that I just did, and it looks pretty.
Yeah, that is fair. That is fair. Well,
Um, it does segue me into a thing though that I wanted to talk about if we're done with the direct.
yeah, no, I'm totally cool.
So I think we've touched on everything in it.
Yeah, at least everything
So
that we wanted to.
Square Enix has a new CEO that's taken over, or
Okay.
I don't know how recently of a takeover it was,
I think it
but
was this
he's been
year at least.
mentioning wanting. Yeah, let me find the exact wording of this article that I saw. Square Enix president said he wants to identify existing IPs with the potential to be upgraded to AAA status.
It's kind of a it.
So there's a handful of franchises that could be,
Okay.
but it depends on how recent he's wanting.
Right, right. It's a weird thing to say because I don't often think of Square Enix as not producing AAA titles. I guess
Right?
that
But then you have, like, I guess when you think about it, you've got things like Triangle Strategy,
okay.
not a AAA game,
Yeah.
Octopath, which is a double A.
Okay.
Like, Octopath, I don't think has reached AAA status
Yeah. That's
yet.
a that
That's the one I think is the most likely to be
is
pushed
which
to
one?
a AAA status of the like current games. Octopath
Okay.
being that it's basically brought back the old school style of Final Fantasy games,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Other options I've seen floating around are the Nier series, which again, I feel like that one is close to AAA status already after Nier Automata
Mhm.
or Automata, whatever it's pronounced as. The World Ends with You, which is another weird Final Fantasy slash Kingdom Hearts esque game, like style wise.
Yeah.
Like it's got that Nomura style to it, but I don't know anything else about it.
I played the original World Ends with You on DS way back when. Thought it was a pretty game. It's a really it was a game built for the DS, so I haven't gone back
Mm-hmm.
to the remakes. It's funny that you mentioned the four games that you mentioned being Triangle Strategy, Octopath, Near, which stands out against these, and World
Mm-hmm.
Ends with You, is because you have three 2D games and one
Yep.
3D large environment open world style game or franchise.
Yep.
And
There's been a
and
couple others I've seen floating around discussion wise too, but I'll get to those.
well, it's like the AAA discussion, right? If it's a 3D game, it's
Mm-hmm.
considered AAA, but by all accounts, these other games, especially something like Octopath, is such a they're so highly regarded. Why is being 2D a make it not AAA? And is that what he's referring to? Is we're taking a 2D title and we're going to make it big?
Yeah, because some of the other games I've seen mentioned are ones that are not dead franchises, but dead franchises over at Square Enix.
Okay.
Things like Chrono Trigger,
Okay.
which I already considered like a old school AAA.
Chrono Trigger is listed in most people's top three RPGs ever made. Like, how do you?
Yeah, which is why
So
I just like consider it a AAA even if it's not. It's like the fact that it's that much of a top 10 game for so many people.
I mean, it's Akira Toriyama's art too. It's like the Dragon Quest
Yeah.
franchise. Whether or not Dragon Quest
Yep.
is what it is in the West, it's still huge. People take days off
Yep.
in Japan to go play Dragon Quest when they release.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And then the other one I've seen brought up for old franchises from Squeenix, Parasite Eve.
Now that's pulling out of nowhere.
That one cannot happen.
Why is that?
They lost the rights.
Oh,
Parasite Eve is based on a book.
okay.
Parasite Eve did so bad in different ways that the actual creator of the series basically told them to go screw themselves and revoke the license, which is why there are technically 3 Parasite Eve games, but the third one is not called Parasite Eve. It is just called Third Birthday. It is all the same characters
But it's not
that
that.
the Parasite Eve games had created, without the Parasite Eve logo and without any references to any of the stuff that exists in the books.
Hmm.
Because the way they, I guess, there's something with Parasite Eve 2 where they basically made the main female protagonist get rescued by the male character over and over again,
Okay.
removing any kind of her autonomy that made her a character that he was okay with them using, or
Okay.
making rather.
Interesting.
So people keep bringing up Parasite Eve, but it basically has a maybe 10% chance of ever happening as a AAA game now,
Yeah. I honestly of
at
of
least
the
with
games
them.
of the games mentioned, I think that Nier is probably the easy choice to turn
Yeah,
into
Nier's the easy choice. Octopath is probably the second easy choice.
It's interesting too. Like, what do you do with the? Not that I really want to have this a deep of a conversation on it, but the 2D HD is so well thought of amongst
Mm-hmm.
the general public of video gamers. Why would you try to push that away in favor of something else to make it AAA? Like why would you?
Yeah.
If anything, I want Chrono Trigger in HD 2D. Like that to
Mm-hmm.
me is the great upgrade you can do to that, and put that damn thing on Switch. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's originally a Super
Yeah,
Nintendo
that'd be
game.
nice. And then there was one other franchise. I call it franchise in air quotes though, because it's another one of those ones that kind of blends in with everything else, and that's the Bravely series.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Bravely Default, Bravely Second End Layer or something.
That is the franchise that you can scale up to be a Final Fantasy type.
Because it already is a Final Fantasy game without the Final Fantasy title.
Exactly. Well, and it's also missing the it's totally missing the modern art styles.
Yeah,
So
because it was
it's
a 3DS game.
yeah, so it's using the
Well,
low
then the
poly,
sequel is a Switch game, but
but it kept the art of that. And you can still do
yep.
like the SD forms for like map navigations and things. But I think if you
Mm-hmm.
brought that up, that's a good choice. I actually, of everything mentioned, that's the one that makes sense to me because it's the one that could potentially fill in the void of classic Final Fantasy. I think that's if you're gonna do something that's
Yeah, where you want to do a AAA game based on your existing IPs that already has AA status or even just low grade status in your company. Something that's going to be 3D that you don't have to get rid of the art style that's made it so popular.
yeah.
And it's already close enough to your current AAA franchises, be it Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts,
Mm-hmm.
that it already works to just bump it up a little bit in style and ta-da.
Yep. Yep. Give it a full treatment because Bravely Default has it made it to other platforms besides Nintendo? Is it on Sony now?
I don't think it has.
That would kind of put the nail in the coffin then, as to not be doing that one, unless that's how you bring it to PlayStation 5 is to overhaul it for AAA status. So, because I know it's a big time, it's big for the Nintendo community. I don't know. I'm still like I can play the
So it looks like
Mario.
it was specifically, the first one was specifically published with Nintendo.
Okay,
And then Bravely Default 2 was released Switch and Windows,
Interesting.
which is basically the same way that Final Fantasy has done recently, except in the opposite direction, because Final Fantasy has been PlayStation exclusives and then an eventual PC release.
Right.
So I could see them making it almost a AAA per console kind of situation with it.
Yeah.
You keep Final Fantasy as your PlayStation seller, you put Bravely Default as your Nintendo seller.
Yeah. Could be the or you optimize Bravely Default for Switch 2 and you can put it on
Mm-hmm.
Sony platforms as well, based on everything we're hearing.
Yeah,
So speaking
because
of
I know
which,
that's the thing with Octopath, because Octopath is on like everything.
yeah. But Octopath again, I keep going back to the HD 2D stuff. It's
Needs
like
to be HD 2D. Yeah.
it's too cool. It's too much of a graphical um, aha moment for the industry recently to
Mm-hmm.
take those visuals. Triangle Strategy is, I
Yep.
mean, essentially the same engine. So
Yeah.
do we jump then from that into the TGS speculations?
I feel like that's where we're at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I it's weird for me. The one that I go back to Nintendo being the person that I am. Nintendo is listed as being behind closed doors for TGS. That's listed as being behind closed doors. Whether or not that changes or that's going to coincide with a surprise direct mini or something that they'll do.
Mm-hmm.
Is it time? Is it time for Super Switch? Do the where there's smoke, there's fire? I mean,
It almost feels like that has to be what this is a behind closed doors Super Switch thing.
yeah, obviously that's what people are going to be playing. But do you think you reveal this to the public at this point?
That is what I'm less sure of. That it's going to require them announcing a direct within the next 24 hours.
I mean, potentially, or it could be a
TGS
direct.
is just over the weekend.
Yeah, that's true. So it would have to be, and then they have to get ahead of it, unless it's a super
Mm-hmm.
surprise reveal during another event. But like during the TGS intros, I don't see
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo doing that. Like they could take the media cycle.
No, Nintendo announcing a new console feels like they would take a whole section.
Yeah. Just that the three, excuse me, not three. The major issue is third party developers. If any of the stuff
Mm-hmm.
that they're showing at TGS is meant for the Switch successor, that's kind of, do they just show the Switch logo and it's like, well, it's the same logo now. It's just now there's a two on it or whatever when the time comes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, PlayStation just does the PS. That's been the thing that's been
Yep.
shown regardless of the generation. So maybe that's the same thing. Maybe Nintendo now is just going to be using the Switch for whatever next console generation it is, but it's an extension thereof. So you can have the Switch logo. It's going to be on Switch for the game, but it's like, well, yes, it's a Switch family of systems. It's
We're
going to
not
be on.
lying.
So, yeah. Is there anything, I mean, else coming out of TGS that you're like stuff that you've read that you think is speculation worthy or?
There is one thing that isn't announced that I'm wondering if it's going to happen or not.
Mhm.
So Capcom is going to be there.
Yep.
They've released their schedule for the event.
Okay.
There's something noticeably missing from it that is confusing.
What's missing?
There's no Monster Hunter.
Okay.
It's Monster Hunter's 20th this year.
2023 or 2024?
This year,
2020. Interesting.
right now.
Did Sunbreak,
And we've had no announcements for anything.
was Sunbreak this year or was that 2023?
Sunbreak released end of last year.
Okay.
I was still living at my old apartment when Sunbreak came out, so
What that sounds like something that would fall under TGS. I mean, the market for Monster Hunter really it's expanded globally, but it is a Japanese market as well. Well,
yeah,
primarily.
it would likely be. It would most likely it's going to be, if it gets announced, it'll be Monster Hunter 6.
Okay.
Whether that is its own separate unconnected game or if it's World 2, we don't know.
Okay. See, this is leaning into that Super Switch idea too, because the success of Monster Hunter Rise cannot be understated, and it was a lead off
Hmm.
for the Switch. So, are you going to make another Monster Hunter game and not bring in the Switch audience?
So they've been doing it kind of weird with the Switch. Uh, they have done a split release almost the last couple of games.
Okay.
Main team, side team almost.
And side team is
Because we got
Rise.
Monster Hunter World. Yeah.
Okay.
We got Monster Hunter World, which was the PlayStation, Xbox, PC game. But then we got Rise, which was an initially just Switch game. Before that, we also had Generations Ultimate, which was a port of a 3DS game to the Switch.
Okay.
From what I understand, um, Rise and Sunbreak were made by that team,
Okay.
while Monster Hunter World was made by the mainline team.
But still, wouldn't you want to cannibalize the audience that you've built from the Switch releases? Like that seems like
It's weird because their biggest amount of success they've had was World,
okay.
at least here in the West, where the West is good on consoles, where the Japanese audience is better with the handheld stuff
Gotcha.
in terms of sales. And so things like Rise are marketed more towards the Japanese audience,
Interesting.
while World is marketed more towards the Western audience.
I'm surprised by that. Just I mean, it might be my
It's
personal
weird.
preference being the Nintendo guy. So, huh.
Mm-hmm.
So on that list of
But
Capcom
it's the
games,
fact that we've heard nothing.
well, I mean that's what TGS is for, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
to do some sort of
Yeah.
is Mega Man on that Capcom list?
I'm trying to find the list right now.
Because that has been absent for too long, with the exception of the shadow dropped uh, Mega Man Land. Why can't I think of the Battle Network series?
Battle Network that just kind of came out with no fanfare.
Right.
Like I missed its release entirely,
Yeah, we talked about that earlier in the
and
year.
I was looking forward to it. That was the part that annoyed me.
Yeah, I just they can't let this franchise die.
um, so it looks like the Capcom TGS stream set for September 21st, 7 a.m. Pacific time. New info for Dragon's Dogma 2, which I'm super excited for. Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways DLC.
Okay,
Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy.
cool.
Exo Primal, which from what I understand was KIA, or no, not even killed in action. It was dead on arrival, DOA. And then Street Fighter 6 is what they have listed.
Which I mean, it's probably DLC information about that one. What's coming next for it?
Yeah. The interesting ones on there for me are definitely Dragon's Dogma 2, which had been rumored for so long, and then we finally got the announcement earlier this year. And then the fact that we're just getting a random Ace Attorney trilogy.
Yeah, because that's not console specific yet, right? That's just a general Capcom announcement.
Nothing listed console wise, yeah.
Well, let's. I'm gonna throw my put it out in the ether. Let's announce Mega Man X10. I guess would be, or is it X9?
Whatever number we're on now.
I think X8 was the last one, so Mega Man X9. Just yeah, and make sure it's on Switch. That's all. That's all I want from Capcom right now is to get me more Mega Man action, especially when you have things like 30XX out, which are filling the void.
Mhm.
Capcom should be doing it themselves.
um, and then Squeenix themselves is going to be at TGS.
Yeah, we
Their
talked about
big thing is obviously going to be Final Fantasy.
said Atlas, right?
Atlas is going to be there. My guess is they're going to be showing off Unicorn,
Yeah.
Overlord, or
I
whatever.
imagine Deca Police is probably going to be one of the other games that are major for Atlas, which I
Probably.
was actually.
And then they're probably showing off the Persona 3 remake that recently got
Oh yeah,
released.
yeah. And that's the one I'm interested in. That's another one I'm hoping for the Super Switch as well. Not that I don't have a PS5. I do have a PS5, obviously. Uh, but
The
the
Persona games are so long.
yeah, well, and then the portable nature of Switch, like it just makes it much easier to play
Yeah.
a lot of these things. You know, Is Sony going to talk about their PlayStation Portal? Like, is that something that's actually going to happen? The handheld
Yeah,
streaming device. So,
I keep forgetting that's a thing.
no. I think that's the problem. Is everybody forgets the thing. It's maybe costs too much at this point, and that's reevaluating.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got to kind of call it here as this discussion goes, and we'll probably we'll see what actually happens with TGS. Um, Hopefully, there's some more interesting announcements. But geez, this next month towards the end of the year is just going to be rough in terms of
Yep. Well, hey, it
trying to
sounds like
find
we've got
time.
some context for some upcoming videos with the two of us. The
Yep.
Pokemon discussion, the this year in video games being a great year discussion.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot there for the gaming culture, so hopefully we'll get that. Is there anything you want to say or anything you want to plug before we head out?
Uh, I don't think so. No.
All right. Well, I will catch you on the next segment.
See you later.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation. If you have made it this far, please leave a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel for future content that we have coming. Also, I have a Patreon page now, so if you want to support the channel financially, which would be absolutely fantastic, head over to patreon.com/natmango1. The one is there because I can't have an exclamation point. Um, Again, thank you all for listening this far. Got plenty more content to share in the upcoming months, especially with October being what it is for video games. We're gonna dive deep into some Mario coverage here real soon. Anyway, thank you all again, and this is Natman reminding you that you are never too old to geek out.